cycle. Another model is the carbon cycle. Another model is the hydrogen cycle, right? Now, they're observing and they're finding these things, and they're also admitting that the law of conservation of energy is eternal, and these cycles are eternal too. You can't make them, you can't destroy them. What does that mean? That means there's God. There's an eternal person, intelligent, eternal person behind the whole thing. Yeah. See, like, for example, let's say there's a scientist named Einstein, right? And he's a very brilliant guy. But he also died, right? And all he did was recognize certain things in nature that are working in a predictable way. And he made it into, Einstein's law of relativity, or Einstein's this law, that law. But all he did was recognize what's already there, right? He was smart enough to recognize how complicated it is, right? And he hasn't recognized everything, and he's dead and gone. But the cycles are still going on. They were there before him. They're there while he was alive, and they're continuing after he's dead. All he did was recognize them. That's all. Right? So that means there's another scientist that's eternal, that established this, is maintaining it, and if he wants, he can destroy it or put a stop to it. If he started it, he can also stop it. But see, the law of conservation makes it very clear. Human beings can't stop it. Yeah.
This is a very long question. It's sort of off topic, but
Yeah.
How do we know for sure, the people in our school, they say it's super silly to think of that there's an entity above us that can do anything we want. How do we know it's completely true?
Because they say that because they can't do it. It's like the blind man who says, I don't believe there's a sun because I can't see it. Does that mean you can't see it? Huh? Do you see the sun? But the blind man says, I don't believe it exists because I can't see it. That's what these people are like. They say it's super silly to think that there's some intelligent people behind the creation. That's like the blind man saying, because I can't see the sun, I don't accept that it exists. But listen, buddy, just because you can't see it doesn't mean someone else can't see it. Right? Just like for so many years, scientists didn't see the carbon cycle. They didn't understand it.
But what if they ask me, have you ever seen God? How do you want to?
Wait a minute. Have they ever seen an atom? No, they've never seen an atom. No one has seen an atom. There's no microscope strong enough to show an atom. How do they know it exists then? No, because they theorize the existence of atoms by the effect of atoms. You can't see the atom itself, but you can see the effect of it. If you look up how they found out that there might be atoms, you'll see that they found out by the effect of them. Like, for example, if you send a stream of electricity through a chamber, a closed chamber of gas, you'll see sparks and lines of light. That is, atoms are colliding and is producing this discharge of energy in the form of light. Right? Now, you can't see the atoms, but you send a stream of energy into this closed system, and then you'll see these rays of light. Okay, why don't you look up Neil Bohr's, B-O-H-R-S, atomic theory, and how he theorized the existence of atoms and electrons and protons and things like that. Let him look it up. You've studied this, right? A little bit. Yeah. See, now nobody has ever seen an atom, but they've seen the effects of something when you put a flow of electricity through a gas, let's say, closed system, and then you see these streaks of light. Now, what are this? Yeah.
This is off topic, but there's this kid in my school. His name is Krishna, not Krishna, but another one. And he said, like yesterday, that all religion, like all wars are caused by religion, and I know that's not true. And then he said that. But then he said that the Hindu religion is based on war. And then he turned to me. Yeah, and then he said because the Mahabharata and the Ramayana, everything has war in it. And then he turned to me and then he said, I don't want to offend you or your religion, but your religion is stupid. I'm like, wow, thanks. But I didn't like have anything to think. I couldn't think of anything to say at that moment because class ended and he was leaving. Also, I knew he wouldn't listen to me.
Well, you see what's happening because of this modern education. They're coming up with all this nonsense. War is justified sometimes. There's unjustified war, there's justified war. Like, for example, ask him this. What would you do if someone came into your house and started breaking everything in the house? Your computer, your watch, your stove. Would you just stand there and not do anything? Would you call the police? Well, if the police come, they have guns and they have batons and they'll start beating the guy or stopping the person who's doing it. That's war. So do you justify that type of war? Or do you say, no, I would not call the police, I would just let them break everything? You see, so there are justified.
How do I explain to him that the Hindu religion is not based on war?
No. You don't want to go there. First, you explain to him the difference between justified war and unjustified war, right? If he says, no, I would just stand there and watch him destroy the whole house, well, then you're an idiot. You're an idiot. You're not doing anything to protect your house. You're just going to sit there and say, hit me again. I really enjoyed being hit by you. And I'm not going to tell anyone. You can hit me as much as you want. These stupid people. There's such a thing as justified war and unjustified war. So both Ramayana and Mahabharata were justified war. See, because he doesn't know anything about Ramayana, he doesn't know anything about Mahabharata. What basically he does is like this. He groups everything into one big pile, and he doesn't differentiate. So why don't you bring in the real Ramayana and say, look, what we've studied is nonsense. It's fake news. It's not real Ramayana. It's somebody's speculation because they have a bias. And why should we learn from biased people? Why can't we learn from people who are, first of all, before you read a book, you should study the life of the author. What if the author smokes and violates people's privacy and does this and does that as like a criminal? Are you going to read his book? Why should you read his book? If he himself is a criminal, why should you read his book? So all books are not equal.
But in our school, they want to expose us to those kinds of things.
Well, you should say, look, I'm going to read the book to pass the test, but understand that the fact that you choose an author who's not a respectable person just shows that you people are low-class people. They'll respect you if you tell the truth and say it in a respectable way. You say, I'm going to read the book, I'm going to pass the test, but the fact that you choose books like this shows what kind of people you are. This is called selective, calling a junk eclectic decisions. Eclectic means you choose things. So they're choosing all the demons. So you have a right to examine the author before you read the book. So why should I read a book written by a guy who's a jerk, who's a wreck, a psychological wreck? Why should I read his book?
No, but like this year, like in seventh grade, our unit was to read books that had been banned because
Well, no. This has nothing to do with banned. They banned good books also. The thing is, you have a right to examine the character of the author before you read the book. Right? Why should you read a book by degenerates and perverts? Right? How do you know that the author is not a degenerate or a pervert or a criminal or a person who believes in destroying the minds of young kids and programming them to become materialists or atheists? Why should you read a book of a person like that? You have a right to choose the authors who you hear from, right? Just like if they're choosing banned books, they're making a decision. We're going to choose books that have been banned.
that are rejected by society.
Yeah. So why did society ban those books? Like, for example, before we used to read Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain. Now they banned the book. You're not allowed to read it in elementary school. Whereas before, kids would always read it. You read it? You read Huckleberry Finn? Huh?
I read it in first grade. It was in my classroom.
Okay. I bet you they won't let you read it now. You should find out. And because it's about this boy named Huckleberry Finn who runs away from home and meets up with a runaway black slave. And they get on a boat and they go down the Mississippi River and they have a lot of adventures, right? Yeah, but because it's a black slave and there's some words in there, that are not favorable to blacks. But that was the society at that time. He didn't make it up. That's what was going on. But Huckleberry Finn became a friend with that black slave, he was running away, and Huckleberry Finn ran away, and they traveled together and had all these adventures, right? So it gives you a picture of the life at that time in the 1850s, 1860s. Now, if they make a selection of things that were rejected by society before, let's find out why they were rejected by society.
Oh, like so we got to choose the books that were banned. Most of the kids, I think every kid chose a book that was banned because it had bad words or because it had violence.
Yeah, but now, can you read the Bible in your school? Okay, so choose that book.
I chose a book that was based off of the Bible.
Well, again, you have to see. It could be a book that criticizes the Bible that you chose.
So it was
Look, you have to see who the author is. First of all, you say, look, first of all, I want to see who the author is. And I want to know about this author. Why should I read a book by an author who's a jerk?
No, I did research, and the author was a Christian, and he was strong Christian, so that's why he wrote the book. So that he could introduce the Bible to kids.
Okay. So you read that?
Yeah, that was my book.
Okay. Why was it banned?
Because it was like related to the Bible. Because people thought that it was
Okay.
non-Christian.
Why don't you read one of the Krishna books? Is it banned? Was it on the list of banned books? Bhagavad Gita? Was it?
No.
Okay. All right. Anyway, so we're going to finish this real quick. I have to go. So I'm outlining what our strategy is. Our strategy is beginning with the law of conservation of energy, which the scientists admit you cannot create energy, you cannot destroy it. That means it's eternal, right? And then all the cycles in nature are also eternal because they're energies. Right? Now, the question is, everything we know in our life, like, socks, pants, computers, cars, rocket ships, potato chips, they're all produced by people, and there's intelligence behind it. And they're nothing compared to these cycles in nature and just the idea of energy, which is eternal, cannot be created, cannot be destroyed. So, if everything that we know in our life are produced by intelligent people, how come we don't know who created these cycles and who created energy? Now, if they say no one created it, it was always there, but yet everything that you're using is created by somebody, how is it that everything in the universe, all the energy, all these cycles that are working in such amazing ways, and we haven't even got to the point of the movement of the planets and all that, they claim it's not created, even though they're much more complicated, much more perfect than anything man creates. So if man creates all these things from the energy, and man says that the energy itself was not created, it doesn't make sense. It's not rational. And the cycles, which are cycles in energy, they claim they're not created. But that doesn't make sense either. It's irrational. If everything that we use in our life, like your socks and your glasses and your car and your house and electricity and all these things have been produced by intelligent people from the energy that is eternal and these cycles that maintain the earth and so forth. And we claim that the energy and these cycles are not created. They just existed. It's not rational. There's a disconnect, you see. So when you're able to explain these cycles and you understand the real meaning of the law of conservation of energy, you can prove to anybody, even the dumbest person, that God exists. That nothing like this could have happened by accident. It's too perfect. It's not something that happens by accident. Like, for example, if you try and create something by using the idea of accident creates, would you be able to create something? No, you wouldn't be able to do it, no matter how long you waited. Right? You wouldn't be able to bring everything together and coordinate them and so forth. So you have to see that people who say God doesn't exist, it's silly to believe that there's some intelligent person behind everything. That person is ignorant. They don't understand nature, first of all. Now, it's up to you now, and I'm going to help you, to learn nature, to learn what matter actually is, because the scientists themselves don't understand what matter is. They claim to understand. They can use it, they can manipulate it, but they don't understand it. And when you begin to understand it, then you cannot deny the existence of God. You can only deny the existence of God when you don't understand how these things work. Do you understand how the carbon cycle works? Yeah. Therefore, we're going to keep studying this until you really understand it. So you'll be able to explain it, and then you'll be able to defeat anybody in the question of does God exist or not exist. You'll be able to defeat them. Because you understand matter better than they do. You understand science better than they do. It's the only way you can convince these people when they're basically they're stuck. They can't discuss with you anymore. Right now you're being challenged by these kids and you're not able to answer them. When we finish studying this, you'll be able to answer all of them and they'll get stuck. Basically, this happened last week at the food truck. This one boy came, he's an Indian boy. He's studying biology at the University of Washington. And he started talking to me about Darwin. And I said, Darwin is junk. He said, what? What did you say? I said, Darwin is junk. His theory is junk. It belongs in the garbage can. It's not true. So, he's like stunned, right? Because the dumbest people in the University of Washington are people studying biology. The physicists, the mathematicians, they're smarter than these guys. The biology students are the dumbest people I've ever met in my life because they believe in Darwin's theory of evolution, right? And they think it's like sacred. Right? So I explained to him, I said, look, everything in your life right now is intelligence driven. The pencil, the pen you have, your cell phone, your shoes, your car, your University of Washington, your Amazon, your Microsoft, all these things are intelligence driven. And you're saying the whole universe happened by accident. There was no intelligence behind it. Whereas everything else in your life is intelligence driven. He said, no, the universe started, it was all, by evolution, I said, you're irrational. He said, what? And then he freaked out and said, anyway, I got to go now. I can't talk to you anymore. He left. No. See, you're going to have to be able to present things to people where they can't argue anymore. And they just say, I can't talk to you. But basically they're being irrational. That's the whole point. The only reason they say God doesn't exist is because they're irrational. They don't understand anything about nature. They don't understand anything about life. They've been dumbed down so much. Right? They might be able to pass tests, math tests. They might be able to read books that have been banned. They might be able to write things. But when it comes to understanding things, they don't understand. They're irrational. Okay, so homework.
One thing we learn in our school is that we come from, the mammals come from a rat-like creature.
Yeah, well, that's all the atheists. That's true.
Like the monkeys, everything, all the mammals came from a rat-like creature.
Yeah.
And like one rat became a whale, one rat started walking on its legs.
One rat became an atheist. One rat became a non-believer. Another rat became a so forth. Yeah. Marsupials. Yeah. Augustia, you're the expert on marsupials? You're the expert on marsupials? Okay, so now I want you to look up cow dung and cow urine and how they can be used as compost. Okay. And also look up human urine and human dung. That's your homework. And how it can be used as compost. Good. This is related to the carbon cycle and the nitrogen cycle. And, okay, so Vihari Prabhu's homework is, he's going to bring us information about that Sadarji in Punjab. Huh? All right, then bring the video. Huh? What? Oh, the video of Sadarji, how long is it? I have to go. No, we'll see it next week. I mean, no, wait a minute. We'll see it tomorrow. No, we'll see it tomorrow. If you come tomorrow, we'll see this video. You're going to see how crazy people have become in India by denying their traditional way of growing. And it's all about NPK, it's all about artificial pesticides and all these things. Where this Sadarji man is doing things in the ancient way. And it works much better. So, homework, right?
Homework, search up the cow dung and urine.
Cow dung and urine as fertilizer, and human dung and human urine as fertilizer.